Our guest of honor today, Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, Scientific Advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defense. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Kindly grace the stage with your presence. Also inviting our guest of honor, Shri Rajesh Bhushan, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Shri Apurva Chandra, Secretary, INB, Ministry of MIB. And Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-India and CMD Ananth Technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, we also welcome Shri Rajesh Bhushan ji. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go ahead with the proceedings of the opening session of day 3. Once again requesting everyone to kindly take their seats. All mobile phone either switched off or put onto silent mode, and the exit doors to be closed, please. Thank you. Namaskar and good morning. Honorable Chief Guest Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, Scientific Advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defense. Our guest of honor, Shri Rajesh Bhushan, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Shri Apurva Chandra, Secretary, INB, Ministry of MIB. Senior government officials, distinguished panelists, speakers and participants, respected members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the opening ceremony of Day 3 of the India Space Congress 2022. Which is on the topic of leveraging space to power next-gen communications and businesses, organized by SETCOM Industry Association, SIA-India, supported by Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India, Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, Niti Aayog, and New Space India Limited. And ladies and gentlemen, the conference is being supported by Ananth Technologies, Dassault Systems, Nelco, SES, Pacific, and the state partners are the Government of Uttar Pradesh and the Government of Andhra Pradesh. And ladies and gentlemen, the presence of eminent dignitaries, senior officials is a source of inspiration for all of us. I would now request Dr. Subba Pavuluri to kindly do the honors of welcoming our eminent guest with a floral bouquet. We welcome Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, Scientific Advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defense. A very warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome Shri Rajesh Bhushan, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. A warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome Shri Apurva Chandra, Secretary, INB, Ministry of MIB, with a floral bouquet. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, as is customary, we begin every auspicious occasion by lighting the ceremonial lamp and invoking the gods and goddesses and seek their blessings for the success of our endeavor. I would now request our eminent dignitaries on the dais to kindly do the honors of lighting the ceremonial lamp and formally inaugurating Day 3 of India Space Congress 2022.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha.
And doing the honors, Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, Scientific Advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defense. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Shri Rajesh Bhushan ji, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Shri Apurva Chandra ji, Secretary INB, Ministry of MIB.
गणपतये नमः
Dr. Subba Pavuluri ji doing the honors.
गणपतये नमः
Thank you, gentlemen, for doing the honors.
गणपतये नमो नमः
And may I now invite Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-India and CMD Ananth Technologies, to kindly begin the proceedings of Day 3 of India Space Congress 2022 with his welcome address.
Namaskar and good morning. Now we're into the third day of our sessions. Good, first 2 days went up very well. And esteemed dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries in the audience, and friends, I welcome you all for the third day session. Maybe for the benefit of those who were not here yesterday and day before, perhaps I would like to trace a bit of what is happening on these last 2 days. Sir, we have 190 delegates coming from 30 different countries, and there are parallel sessions, 32 parallel sessions, and mostly driving about the space is the derivatives in terms of economy and how to make it growth, how to make India as the largest contributor to the space economy of the world. That's the overall theme that we're designed in such a way that there will be a lot of discussion that happens, churning of the minds, and would like to bring out some suggestion to the government which can be made also in order to drive home the point that India can become the leading space economy contributor to the global economy. And with these, various panels have been devised. And in the first day, we have Dr. Somanath, the Chairman ISRO, and Dr. Kiran Kumar, former Chairman ISRO, and Honorable Minister from Madhya Pradesh. I mean, this is not only the technology related, but also what can be done, but what the ministers, the government is also thinking about how to take it into last mile connectivity, Antyodaya, that being the policy of the government of India, how to make that happen. So from that angle, the various aspects have been discussed day before yesterday, and yesterday again, we have other distinguished guests, and overall, which is going through very well on that. Thank you very much. I welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for those warm words of welcome. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the special address, I have the proud privilege in inviting Shri Apurva Chandra ji, Secretary INB, Ministry of MIB. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome our guest of honor.
Dr. Satheesh, Reddy, Shri Rajesh, Bhushan, Shri Subba, and all those gathered today. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Satellite Communication Association of India for organizing this conference, a very timely conference, because the government has taken the initiative of opening up the satellite communication sector for the private sector. And these conferences are very useful for making us in the government also to understand what role the private sector can play now in the satellite communication business. We in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting are concerned with the broadcasting sector, and the Indian broadcasting sector is a very vibrant sector. We have 898 channels which are being broadcast by various private and our own Prasar Bharati of the government. These are broadcast throughout the country. 898 channels is a very large number, probably one of the largest in the world, because we have a multifarious, a very diverse country, 16 languages, various regions, and these channels are spread throughout the country. Some are regional, purely regional, some are national, some are being broadcast over a much wider footprint, including entire Asia, Middle East, and some go right up to Europe and UK. Out of these 898 channels, 385 are news TV channels and 513 are non-news channels. The permissions for uplinking and downlinking are given by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting under the uplinking downlinking guidelines of 2011. Of these 898 channels, 532 channels use foreign satellites and 366 are using Indian satellites. The Indian satellites are the ISRO GSAT-30, GSAT-17, and foreign satellites are largely Intelsat and AsiaSat. The channels have to make remittance to the foreign satellite providers under permission from Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and over the last 2 years, we have allowed remittance of $102 million to the foreign satellite providers for these channels, for the downlinking and uplinking of these channels. So this is the business opportunity. In India, if satellites are available, then these channels can shift, and they can be. We do intend that would like that more and more under the Atmanirbharta, the Indian satellites are used for the broadcast of these channels. There is, I think now ISRO doesn't really plan to put out any new geostationary satellites, and most of the work is going to be on low Earth orbit satellites. But low Earth orbit satellites, I am told, may not be useful for broadcasting per se, because there the receivers have to track the movement of the low Earth satellite, which move pretty fast. But then there is again a convergence between broadcasting and because now more and more of the content is being consumed through broadband, and low Earth satellites would be used, low Earth orbit satellites would be used for broadband communication in future. So that again is an opportunity, and but India currently, we are still dependent on foreign satellites for low Earth orbit, and that is again an opportunity within the country. We would like, the uplinking, downlinking guidelines of 2011, they are now around 11 years old. We are in the process of revising these guidelines, and the revision should be out very shortly. We want to deregulate the uplinking of satellites under the guidelines so that India can become a hub. Today, we are giving permission for uplinking as well as downlinking. Uplinking can be deregulated, so at least the channels from the neighboring countries, let's say Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, they can use India as a hub for uplinking of channels, and that will provide a further boost to the satellite communication sector of the country. If India becomes an uplinking hub and becomes a cost competitive, as well as the footprint of the satellites covers a larger geography. There are the use of the spectrum within the satellite communication. There are still some limitations because some of our satellites are using MPEG-2. Some of our channels are still using the MPEG-2 format, including our own Prasar Bharati, where the Prasar Bharati, almost 80 channels are still using the MPEG-2 format. If they migrate to MPEG-4 format, then the number can be increased to 160. But then there is a problem because the Prasar Bharati, when it transmits, most of the transmission is to free dish, which is distributed free and used by the lower income categories of population in the country. And those set-top boxes still use the MPEG-2 format, and for them to migrate to MPEG-4 is a very slow process. We have been trying, but till now, over the past 2-3 years, out of a total of about 40 million, only about 1 million have been converted to MPEG So the offtake is pretty poor, but then for the proper usage of spectrum, it would always be better that we move from MPEG-2 to MPEG-4. In the budget of 2022, that is this year, the Finance Minister announced that 200 new channels for education would be launched. The BISAG is working on the creation, along with the Ministry of Education, on creation of these 200 new education channels. These channels again would be linear channels for education to all the standards from 1 to 12 in various languages, and these 200 channels would again require transponders and satellite communication to cover the entire country. So we have to provide for that particular, these channels in the, in the very near future. The other point is that now communication of and broadcasting, there is more and more convergence, and people like to look at the content through mobiles. And TV, the growth of TV in India has been static over the past 2-3 years. The numbers is about 200 million, and it has been static, whether it is the cable-connected homes, whether it is the or whether it is the direct DTH services. But the consumption over mobiles is growing. And now new technologies are coming which will allow direct-to-mobile broadcasting. These technologies are still in pilot stage. Our own Prasar Bharati is working with IIT Kanpur and Sankhya Labs, and they have tested and proven a pilot where direct-to-mobile is working. So there the convergence would happen in the, maybe in the, over the next 2 to 3 years. We have to, and there also satellite communication would be useful in the sense that what I'm told, that in remote villages, there can be stacks which can receive the communication, and then within a local Wi-Fi network provided by these stacks, the mobiles can receive the channels directly, 200 to 300 channels, and that would be much more effective in terms of consumption of the spectrum, and would be cost effective for the mobile operators as well as for the broadcasters, because the reach of the broadcasters would increase from about 200 million at present to over 800 million, because the number of smartphones in the country is more than 800 million. So it is a win-win situation. It will be a win-win situation for everybody, and we look forward to the next stage of the broadcast revolution. The satellite industry has to play a big role in that, and we hope that the private sector would serve the people of the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the special address, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Shri Rajesh Bhushan ji, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our guest of honor, Shri Rajesh Bhushan.
Very good morning to all of you. Dr. Subba, Dr. Satheesh Reddy, Shri Apurva Chandra, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure to be here as part of India Space Congress 2022. When I received this invitation, I was looking at this very sort of specialized field of space and health, or satellite communication-based health solutions. So this is an area which is rapidly, for want of a better phrase, exploding. And this is where most of us should be. particularly in countries which are as large in terms of size and population and as diverse as India. So what is it that makes, satellite-based solutions particularly attractive in the field of health in a country like India? Let's take, there could be multiple, parameters on which we could discuss this, but let's take only 3 parameters. One, as our health services improve over a period of time, the number of our elderly are increasing. The proportion or the percentage of the aging population in India's population is increasing. And as the aging population increases, whether it is in urban areas or in rural areas, there are mobility-related problems. So therefore, the OPD as well as specialized health-related consultation has to be ideally provided at home. So this is one parameter. We will come back to this in course of my conversation with you. The second important thing is that when you have a large country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Kamrup in Assam to the beaches of Gujarat, you will find that there are geographies within the country where there is acute shortage of specialists and super specialist doctors. Why am I saying this? Because if you look at MBBS people, that is the graduates that we produce in medical sciences, that number has significantly gone up over the last 10 years. And today we have roughly 130,000, 13 lakh allopathic doctors in this country. We have around 500,000 Ayush doctors, 5 lakh Ayush doctors in this country. So if you look at WHO's doctor to patient ratio, which is 1:1,000, we are fairly, comfortable. It is 1:860 odd if you take all these doctors together. But where we face challenges are people who deal in specialities and super specialities. For example, a doctor who looks after the problems of young children, pediatric doctors, or a doctor who looks at heart problem of young children, a pediatric cardiologist. So these, the specialty and super specialty areas are still a challenge in this country, given our, terrain from the Himalayas to the sea beaches of south. So how do you provide these specialized services to the people who require them? That is again where space-based and satellite-based solutions would come into being. And the third parameters that I would like to raise is that as we progress globally, you would find these emerging and re-emerging diseases. The recent example is SARS-CoV-19. Recently, 4 days ago in Kerala, we had instances of avian influenza, bird flu, and almost 2,000 birds had to be culled. So therefore, as we proceed ahead, this would happen with alarming regularity. So we should not be, satisfied and happy that none of us are wearing masks today. I see a few gentlemen who have casually sort of worn it without covering their nose and mouth. But as we go ahead, these problems are going to happen. They are going to reoccur. So therefore, the associated challenge is, how do we do surveillance? How do we get real-time information of what is emerging and where is it emerging? So aging population, absence of or limitation of specialists and super specialists, and doing a real-time surveillance of epidemics or pandemics or epidemics that threaten to become pandemics. Now in the context of these 3 parameters, let's see what happened in this country in the last 2 years when we were tackling COVID-19, and it has certain lessons for what you have been deliberating in last 2 days and what you would be discussing today, and maybe going ahead, the SATCOM industry association needs to consider these issues, particularly those partners who are part of your organization, who are into satellite-based solutions, who are into startups. So they should be the people who should be looking at this. So 5 issues I wanted to discuss with you: remote medical diagnosis, remote medical care, remote emergency and medical disaster response, telemedical education, and surveillance and early warning. These issues can be developed over a period of time, but for want of time, I would only just highlight them. So I was saying, what did we do in the last 2 years in this country, and how does it become relevant to what we are discussing today? Again, 5 instances or examples I would want to share with you. First is of CoWIN. Most of you have heard the name CoWIN. CoWIN is a digital platform that captures the COVID vaccinations that happen in this country. As I address you today, we have captured 2.19 billion vaccinations individually on this digital platform. Large number of countries of the world taken together do not have that kind of population, the kind of data that we have captured on this platform. And homegrown, indigenously developed, it did not crash for a single day. And without any offense to anyone, I don't know how many of you are from USA, there is this very interesting nugget that when Obamacare was launched, again, it had a digital platform to sort of sustain it. The first 3 days it crashed. And then on the 4th day, it could be revived. So CoWIN did not crash for the last 2 years, day after day after day. So 219 crore vaccination, all QR coded. Now imagine if this was backed by SATCOM, satellite communication, the kind of value addition it would have created. Going ahead, now that you have created this platform, and since the COVID cases are coming down, what do you use it for? You use it in this country for 12 vaccine preventable diseases, which the federal government in any case does, but does physically, manually. Those records are not captured on COVID. So this was first example. The second example is almost all of us have on our smart mobiles. It's Arogya Setu. Arogya Setu was a mobile app. This was developed during the initial phases of COVID to track positive people. Because the idea was that if you are positive, you must remain in home isolation. However, if you are moving around, the government must be in a position to track you in an unobtrusive manner. So that was the basis behind this mobile app. But once it became, popular, again 22 crore users of Arogya Setu mobile app. So then a lot of other facilities were sort of onloaded onto this mobile app. For example, if I wanted to see which doctor is available near me, which diagnostic center is available near me, which blood storage unit is available near me, all these information today can be found on Arogya Setu. So again, here is a vast opportunity waiting to be tapped, and value can be added and generated if we link it to space and satellite communication. The third example is of e-Sanjeevani. E-Sanjeevani is the national telemedicine service, again launched during the COVID times. Why was it launched? Because people suddenly realized that the clinics and the hospitals where they used to go, they were no longer available. Why were they no longer available? Because they had become COVID clinics or COVID hospitals. So therefore, if you are suffering from a non-COVID health issue, you had no option, at least in the initial phases of the pandemic. So therefore, this national telemedicine service was launched, and today it has serviced around 7 crore patients. It has 2 lakh providers who have onboarded on it, doctors, physiotherapy, paramedics, and diagnostic centers who do your blood test and other tests. So e-Sanjeevani today is being used for tele-OPD. I don't want to move out of my house. I have this mobile application on my smart mobile, and I use it to contact a doctor. Audio-visual interaction is possible, and assisted OPDs are also there, where I cannot directly talk to a doctor, but I go to a health provider who in turn talks to the doctor, and then I get my consultation. So here also there is a huge opportunity. There are two more things that I would want to draw your attention to. One is Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, ABDM. Now what is ABDM? ABDM creates a digital ecosystem in which everyone who volunteers, because all of these interventions are voluntary, nothing is mandated. So anyone who volunteers can have a unique health ID, and that unique health ID gets tagged to that particular person's digital health record. Over a period of time, these digital health records are built up. So therefore, you have something known as longitudinal health record of a person. Let me concretize it by giving you example. Suppose Rajesh Bhushan is a young kid. He goes for his vaccination. So a digital record is created of that vaccination. Then he grows up, plays, breaks his leg. There is a MRI, a digital MRI or a X-ray. Over a period of time, his lipid profile and kidney function test and liver function test and what have you. So 20 years digital health record becomes longitudinal digital health history of Rajesh Bhushan, which gets tagged to a number which we call ABHA, Ayushman Bharat Health Account. So what is the advantage of this? At the end of the day, suppose this particular person travels from Delhi to Mumbai and has to consult a doctor in a Mumbai hospital. All he has to do is to give that ABHA number to this doctor in Mumbai, and this entire longitudinal history digitally gets fetched from Delhi or wherever it resides into the laptop or desktop of the doctor that this particular person is consulting. So therefore, why can't this facility be available in the tribal area or the northeast or the Himalayan foothills of our country? Presently, we face this huge problem of connectivity, of bandwidth, and multiple other associated logistics. So this is something going ahead which will be changing the healthcare scenario in this country, and again, satellite-based communication and space will play a major role in this. Last is something which is a very recent development. It's called IHIP, Integrated Health Information Platform. So what is this platform? The federal government has created a digital platform, has identified 33 emerging and re-emerging infections, Nipah, SARS, COVID, anything that could blow out of proportion and then disrupt the economy, disrupt the society, and disrupt the overall system in which governments and communities function. And information on this IHIP digital platform comes from 3 sources. We have foot soldiers. This is something which is unique to this country. Other countries probably don't have it. I think some of the Asian countries probably would have something similar, but the West definitely does not have this. We have foot soldiers of health. These are the first contact points in our villages. These are auxiliary nurse midwives, 300,000 of them, 3 lakh hai. Similarly, we have accredited social health workers, ASHAs. They are 1 million, 10 lakh hai. So these 13 lakh foot soldiers of health know and are responsible for specified households, 20 परिवारों के लिए या 25 परिवारों के लिए. So then these people generate data, and that data gets populated on this IHIP platform of disease, of any other unusual symptom. So that's the first source. The second source is that when people go and meet a doctor in villages, the doctor also populates this IHIP, and if the doctor refers those patients to a lab for a blood test or a sputum test or any other test, so that lab also populates data on this. The system would be ideal if everything would happen on real time, which it does not. So that is another area where you and the government working together can create value, both for the businesses as well as for the government from the programmatic point of view. So I think I have now hopelessly overshot my time, but I do thank you for having provided me this opportunity to interact with such a learned audience, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that very informative, insightful address. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the proud privilege in inviting our very special guest, Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy ji, the Scientific Advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defence. And let's put our hands together to welcome our special guest, Shri Reddy.
A very good morning. Shri Rajesh Bhushan, Shri Apurva Chandra, Dr. P. Subba, General Khandare, DG DSA who is present here, and all eminent people who are part of this conference. Very good morning to you once again. Firstly, let me congratulate the SATCOM Industry Association along with others, the ISRO, NISL, and Space Congress for organizing this event, which is actually at a right time today. Having got a 3-day conference discussing on various aspects related to the space segment, not just communications along. I have seen the total agenda, the talks given, and today whatever the talks are there, covering the entire spectrum related to the space. And when you look at, India has gone a long way in the space program. When we think of the days of SLV, then from there ASLV, then transforming to PSLV, and then GSLV, and then the systems continuously getting upgraded, which was spearheaded by Indian Space Research Organization, having gone particularly making PSLV in numbers. Probably I think it is 54 or 55 is the series of PSLVs which have been launched successfully without any issue in between in a row. That's where actually industry has been participating with the ISRO programs, and it was at becoming a part of that whole system, somebody supplying some parts and subsystems and systems and so on and so forth. And so ISRO was integrating the whole vehicle and doing the whole program, which particularly I say the PSLV was the workhorse for them. And that's how that missions have been continued with the vehicle, whether it is the moon mission or the Mars mission. And in fact, from there onwards, moved on to the GSLV with the indigenous cryogenic engine, putting the satellites in the geostationary orbit, and then getting into the navigation domain with IRNSS. Of course, again, the satellite being in the geostationary area, providing the coverage India plus around 2,500 kilometers above the border, the navigation coverage with the IRNSS. First time in the navigation domain, doing it from the geostationary or geosynchronous orbits. Look at from there, I think the launch what has happened just a couple of days back taking a payload of about 6.5 tons with a massive vehicle of about 650 tons, putting it in the low Earth orbit and putting large number of satellites, which are mostly the communication satellites, is another one. So in the whole process, as Mr. Apurva Chandra has mentioned, the space activities, the space domain has been opened to the industry to make the complete system, whether it is the satellites or payloads or the launch vehicles itself, whatnot, everything. And that's how the reforms have come in the Department of Space and introduced many mechanisms to see that the space activities are expanded to the private industries in a big way. Since then, we have been seeing the people who have been part of it earlier, as like Mr. Subba, the Ananth Technologies Limited and many other organizations in the country, started getting into the space domain completely independent. And many startups have started coming in, looking at even the launch vehicles itself onwards, launching capabilities, the payload capabilities, the satellites, and various other areas in a big way. And that is where we are trying to get through a complete transformative change in the space domain, as the space is one of the activities which works for the economics of the country also. That's how it looked at. Whether it is serving the purpose what the country needs, various utilities, whether it is for the communications or the health or education, for weather and whatnot, and many other areas. And of course, space segment has become the fourth dimension of warfare, so entering into the defense area also. So having got into all these domains, the activities which have been carried out by the private sector particularly, entering into multiple domains of this, particularly when you look at various industries which have come up in the country today, getting into various types of payloads, satellites, whether it is micro, mini, or large satellites having 50 kg, 150 kg, 650 kg, or 1,000 and above kgs capability satellites, and expanding to that, and trying to make everything indigenous in the country. This is the way the things are moving in a big way. And as you see that space segment, the technologies are changing, evolving every day with new areas and new requirements which are coming up in that. Right from the data communication, which actually from the satellite to the ground stations, we used to think about few megahertz was one of our good data rates those days, and people moved to 640, 850. Now people are talking about gigahertz communications and all that. And then also entering into the secure communication with entangled photons, quantum communication also. That's one more activity which seriously, which we see, which we also are news that there are people who have worked and working and things like that, and all that is one of the important areas. So this is one of the important domains. And again, expanding there into in the communication domain itself, one thing is the complete spectrum of the frequencies, right from going up to Ka-band communication, going close to maybe beyond 25 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz communication is one of the important things which is evolving, and multi-band communication is one thing. Second, another area where it is a space-based hub is one thing actually, again, an area where a lot of thought process going on and trying to see that you have a space-based hub and trying to use it for the communication instead of a ground-based hub is one of the another important areas. So likewise, there are lots of things going on, and particularly, again, when you look at in the imaging area, we keep on hearing, we started with few meters, then we talked about 1 meter, and then sub-meters, and talking about now 25 centimeters, 30 centimeters resolution type of images, what we are looking at with, again, multiple sensors. There is one more thing which actually you see every day there is a change. I'll talk about the hyperspectral thing a little later, but otherwise, as a normal imaging, what we are looking for, various other purposes, that's where the resolutions are going on, and there's a lot of competition in this area going on in this, try to see this. Other area is, which is very, very important, is the payload versus the launch vehicles ratio, weight ratio. How we are able to make a launch vehicle which can carry a higher payload with a reduced launch vehicle's weight, whether it is in the propulsion technologies or in the whole vehicle casings, whether the metal casings or you can use composite rocket motors and things like that is one of the things. Or also have a capability in the satellite where I can provide continuous thrust whenever it is required, whatever change is required, and without having to carry a lot of fuel with me. This is one of the technologies, and in this, the electric propulsion is one thing, and particularly in this also, we can talk about a couple of industry startups in the country also have come up with green propulsion, the plasma-based propulsions and things like that which are talking about, and people talk of even having satellites at a lower altitudes and keep on applying the corrections. This is another one of important areas which actually gives a lot of advantages also. This one thing which again in this domain people are trying to work and coming out with various solutions and making these schemes and systems come up. Again, there are multiple technologies which are there in the satellite bus itself. Leaving aside the energy segment, the power source and things like that, particularly in the navigation domain, having now entered into the defense, as I said, the space is the fourth dimension of warfare. So various technologies, whether to use GPS or GPS alone or the GPS GLONASS, Galileo, BIDO or whatever these technologies, or is it still vulnerable for jamming, spoofing and other things, and how do you come out of it? What are the schemes, mechanisms or algorithms what you need to build into the system is one of the important areas. That's again, a lot of work is going on in this is one important thing. Secondly, working on multiple navigation technologies for the satellites, providing still good amount of accuracies, even though we all have been knowing that whether we're talking about Earth sensor or sun sensor or talking about the star sensors and all that is one of the things. But then there are other mechanisms of navigation technologies which are being also used continuously to come out of these, still having a higher accuracy. This is one domain where a lot of work is going on, which can be even self-contained navigation also, is one more area. Then coming to the defense segment, a lot of applications. Firstly, without getting into the other domains, primarily as space-based surveillance, where you talk about today L-int payloads and the location accuracies with the L-int payloads, and particularly the sensitivity of the L-int payloads and the spectrum of this, whether you are starting at 0.5 gigahertz, or you are going up to 100 megahertz, and from there are you going up to 40 gigahertz, is one thing. Are you able to put in everything into one and trying to look at it is one important aspect, without lowering your sensitivity of the sensor. That's one of the important things. So this is one thing. Actually, again, this is a continuously evolving thing. Today you come out with, today I have, let's say my sensitivity minus 100 dBm or whatever we say, or 110 dBm, and another 4 years you look at it, that may have gone to another 10 dB down, is one thing. And spectrum also is changing every day, is one of the important things. And again, the location accuracy, where formation flyings and multiple formation flyings, and trying to have a continuous coverage. How do you provide this? And particularly for the marine applications, when you look at it, it's very difficult unless you have a continuous mechanism of surveillance, that means which calls for multiple satellites. You need to have lots of satellite constellations to have this, provide this, is one of the very important things. And even if you look at the AIS payloads, having a coverage with a LEO satellite is very difficult, so you need to have. So that actually calls for, which again I think a lot of people are working on this, how to actually minimize the cost of the launching of the satellite and also the satellite cost. This is one thing. Right from the components, what we need to use, do we need to use radiation hardened components, or we only test them, or otherwise we can manage with the normal components and still provide the protection to the components. From there onwards, various technologies and techniques start to make that the satellite launch to the actual satellite and payload costs are also coming down, to see that you are having large number of satellites and you are able to launch them together also, is one of the important things. From there onwards, if you look at it, the payloads like synthetic aperture radar payloads, which are very essential today, are talking about signal intelligence, SIGINT payloads, or communication intelligence payloads, which again call for multi-dimensional changes in this, right from the payloads to the altitudes, the vary of your operation, the revisit times, and number of satellites what you require is one important thing. Very important is, I was just mentioning some time back, is the hyperspectral payloads, where talking about better and better resolutions. And no more, I think, people are happy with the resolutions of 12 meters and things like that. Is, I think those days are going. So how to see that we are having a higher and better resolutions for, particularly for the defense applications, is one more important area. So these are all the, I'm not getting into other domains where weaponization of the space and things like that and all that is not, I'm not getting into it. A lot of things we keep hearing, a lot of news coming and all that, and a lot of countries are working on that, and I'm not getting into that activity. But one thing I like to mention here is, which actually all the countries are aware and they're also cautious about it, and I'm sure that the world space community is addressing seriously, is the debris issue. Is the most important issue, which in the future, out of multiple reasons, what are the debris which are being created, how do we eliminate them, how do we ensure that they are basic minimum, and we don't have to be bothering too much about it, is one of the important things. Actually, the space community as such in the entire world need to look at it very seriously to see that we are not getting into it. You can look into the incidents what have happened in the last couple of years, what have the issues caused by the space debris to various payloads or various stations which are there in the space. So this is one of the another important area. So as you look at it, as the space segment is evolving, the activities are increasing a lot, and India wants to be and is becoming, has done a lot of work to become a space power, and then want to be Atmanirbhar in this area, meaning the country has the complete capability to design, to develop, and manufacture with the complete manufacturing capabilities in the country. This is what the Atmanirbhar, meaning any industry and any R&D organization in the country, you are able to have the complete know-how, know why, and so you are able to design and you are able to go ahead with the next level of systems and evolve the systems to get into the always in the frontier areas of this technology, meaning you are continuously developing the advanced technologies and systems and try to be the leader in the world in this area, and also capture the market and have a lot of business. The Indian industries which are here will not just be looking for the market for in the country, and you are working for the global market, and you are trying to capture the global market and try to provide the payload, the satellites, the launch capabilities and whatnot, and then of course from there onwards getting into the services, what the previous speakers have mentioned about, into various services activity also. That is how the space economy comes into picture. So if the country is looking as space is one of the important areas for the economy of the country, and this is how the economy will be working out. And I'm also very sure that any industry here will just not be able to flourish if you are looking for only a market within the country here. And so you have to look for the global market. And so when you say global market, when you are looking, you need to have definite advantages over other people who are in the same area in the globally. That means whether your launch costs or your payloads and the effectiveness of them or the technologies what are used, you have to be much better. So technology is much better at a lower cost and then higher reliability and better services. This is what is required. And so I'm sure that we are all working in this direction. The Government of India has taken all the necessary steps to support in this direction, to support the industries, and space ISRO to lead in the research activities, R&D activities in the space domain, continuously taking into further technological areas, is what is the overall as a situation in the country. And I'm sure that this conference will deliberate as deliberated each and every aspect of it and how we take this country forward and making advanced systems here and making a global leader in this domain and making the industries, number of industries come up in the country and try to do a globally the products from this country, providing the systems and services. I'm sure that you will be able to come out with a roadmap and the inputs what are required and support measures what are required and all that you will be able to come out end of this conference. And my best wishes to the all the people who are present here to the conference, and my congratulations to the organizers who have done a wonderful job. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that motivating and insightful address. And ladies and gentlemen, in the endeavor to promote and inspire the young talent and create awareness about the space sector as being a great career option, SIA-India invited original research papers and submissions from students, academicians, research scholars, and the young entrepreneurs. The response was overwhelming indeed, and we received over 36 submissions. These are all original work done by each student, academician, and the research scholars. And after extensive deliberations by an expert jury panel of 5 original papers were shortlisted for awarding the cash prizes. And ladies and gentlemen, the 2 papers were selected for the 3rd place, and they are being awarded rupees 10,000 each. I would request Shri Apurva Chandra ji, Secretary INB, to kindly do the honors of presenting the checks. First, for the solar sail, a small spacecraft solar sailing mission, and deep space observatory to Mr. Vinay Kumar Reddy and Andaluri, Shiva Sai Krishna Digamarthi, Dr. Jaldeep Singh, and Dr. Sumit Kumar from Lovely Professional University. Let's put our hands together for them. Congratulations. And the next paper that was selected for the third place is Solar Sail, Design and Thermostructural Analysis of Lenticular Deployable Composite Booms for Solar Sails. And let's put our hands together for them. And the second paper, which is being awarded for the third place, is Solar Sail Design and Thermostructural Analysis of Lenticular Deployable Composite Booms for Solar Sails, presented to Karishma Parthipan, Akshansh Chilakapatti, Rohit S. Verma, and VM Shri Hari from Shastra University. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, sir, for presenting the check. And ladies and gentlemen, the second place, the prize money is of 20,000. I would request Shri Rajesh Bhushan ji, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, to kindly do the honors. And the paper that has been selected for the second place is Satellite Constellation Maximum Revisit Time, Computation for Unsymmetrical Satellite Constellation, presented to Aditya Scientist Engineer Flight Dynamics Group, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Indian Space Research Organization, and UR Rao Satellite Center, ISRO, Bangalore. Congratulations. Thank you, sir, for doing the honors. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, for the first place, 2 papers have been shortlisted with a prize money of rupees 30,000 each. I would request a special guest, Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy ji, to kindly do the honors presenting the check. The first paper selected is Ground Tracking Novel Automation Algorithm to Maintain Frozen Orbit Through Ground Track Maintenance Maneuvers, presented to Dr. Parthiban B., Scientist Engineer, and Uma Devi, UR Rao Satellite Center, ISRO, Bangalore. And the second paper, which has been shortlisted to awarded the check of rupees 30,000, is Airships for Satellite Data Acquisition and Disaster Management, once again to Parthiban B., Scientist Engineer, Flight Dynamics Group, UR Rao Satellite Center, ISRO, Bangalore, and Thamimush Nisha M., the Scientist Engineer, Flight Dynamics Group, UR Rao Satellite Center, ISRO, Bangalore. Congratulations to all the winners. Let's put our hands together for them, ladies and gentlemen. And we also take this moment to felicitate Mr. Nitesh Singh and Mr. Aditya Kindlaya, the founder of Astrogate Labs, which got ET Startup Award 2022. SIA-India congratulates you in your success and wishes you the very best for your future endeavors. Astrogate Labs is also a startup member of SIA-India. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for them. Thank you, sir, and congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, once again, thanking all our eminent dignitaries for gracing this occasion, we close the proceedings of the opening session of third day of India Space Congress 2022. Thank you very much indeed, sir.